Rudy 8 Blends, I'm back. But before we get with this haircut tutorial, I got a lot of questions of, hey Rudy, what clippers do you use? What clippers should I use for beginner barbers? What clippers do you recommend? And mine is pretty simple.
Now these are the cordless seniors. Now these, in my opinion, they're the best overall clipper. You can take down bulk and you can still be able to fade. Now there's a big misconception about magic clips and wall seniors. They're the exact same thing. The only thing you have to do is switch the blade. But if you can get on hands on both, I will get on both. Now these are the wall details. The wall details, for some reason, they always help me. When I was trying to do edge ups, either I was pressing too hard cutting them or I was not pressing at all. But for some reason, these are light, nice and weight, and I can still be able to do crispy lineups. Now we got the Andes forward shaver. This is the best affordable shaver that I could get at the time. And I still think that they go pretty hard. Now the best, most expensive clipper that I ever had that also taught me how to cut hair faster was the Barbers Pro FX. The only problem is that I don't like about this clipper, I do not like whatsoever the guard system. But with those notches that you see, for some reason you can, once you begin a barber, you really don't know where it's halfway, where it's fully closed, where it's semi-closed. And with those actually clippers, you can actually see, and then you can transfer to the wall cordless seniors, and then you can see how where's halfway. Okay, this is halfway. Okay, this is all the way closed. This is semi-closed. That's why, in my opinion, is the best overall clipper. The only thing that I didn't like at the beginning when I was first starting, it was like $200 when I first got the clipper. It was overall expensive, and at the time, once you're a beginner barber, you really don't know what clippers made for you, so you have to keep buying clippers until you see what clippers made for you. I love the Andes Masters. I think the Andes Masters, the cordless Masters, are the best clipper to fade, but they are extremely heavy when you're doing like 10 or 15 cuts a day. Oh, it's just horrible. It's horrible. But now, to get in the cut, right now I'm using the Barbers FX cordless. Now you may be wondering, the skeletons, why I didn't mention it on the for beginner barbers. This clipper itself is the best trimmer clipper that is in the game right now. I feel like it's the best trimmer that's in the game right now, but the only problem is these clippers are sharp. So if you press too hard, even if sometimes if you press too lightly, man, you gonna cut somebody. When I first grabbed these clippers, when I was first starting to cut hair, man, I was nicking people all the time. I had to get all the blood spill kit. All it was ridiculous. That's why, in my opinion, you shouldn't get those trimmers unless you have some type of experience. I have these Barbers full shavers. Now, another reason why I didn't mention this because this is like a little bit more expensive on the pricey side. And I know once first started to cut hair, I really didn't have a lot of money to begin with all the nice fancy clippers. So I had to stay with the basics. So to me, the basics is the Andes full shaver. But if you can get your hands on with these Falls Barbers shaver, man, these go smooth, and they're pretty heavy. They're pretty heavy, but they feel strong. They feel powerful. Now, once you notice on the cut, once I'm leaving a slight, like an inch or a centimeter, I said like 4 centimeters of space between the ball line and the actual hair of the line. Obviously, self-explanatory. You don't want to pass the whole of the line. Once you go all the way up, just notice that right there I'm doing like a flicking motion. Now we have the cordless magic clips. Now this is the exact same thing from the wall seniors, but the only difference is once you buy this in the package, you have to buy a separate blade and then switch the blade for the cordless seniors. Now I'm doing my first guideline, and my first guideline is with the lever halfway closed. I like to do with the lever halfway closed because it's easier to blend. It's just faster and it's easier. And the more you stretch out your guidelines, the easier it is for you to fade. So notice that I'm going through repetition to the same little area, because just because you cut that little area doesn't mean it's fully whatever the lever halfway it is. So sometimes you got to go through a little bit of passes and keep going. And then once I finish doing that, then I have the blade all the way closed. So just close the blade up, and then you just start fading. But once you start fading, you're only using 2 to 3 blades of the corners of the teeth. You're not using the whole thing. If you use the whole thing, you're gonna start over again, and then you're gonna keep repeating the process. And then instead of repeating the process, you're gonna put the fade up even more higher and higher. Now we have the number 1 guard with the lever open, with the lever all the way open. And notice how I'm doing my guidelines. I'm doing my guidelines like always, 1 inch. I know that I'm going more towards the parietal ridge. I'm setting a guideline, but I'm also flicking the wrist, meaning I'm mostly using the butt of the heel, the butt of the clipper, to set a guideline. That way I don't really leave a harsh line, and then that'll be harder for me to take out. But once I'm using the number 1 guard, then I close it all the way first, so it's going to be an actual 1 guard, and I just keep fading in the same thing, same process, using corners and just taking my time. And sometimes, depending on the client, you really have to stretch the skin. If they have that kind of like saggy skin, you know what I'm saying, then you're gonna have to, it's kind of messed up, saggy skin. But you have to keep stretch the skin out, and then you have to start fading. But moreover, then we got the number 2 guard all the way open, same thing. I only use 3 guidelines, is all you need. Number 2 all the way open, and then you go all the way close, and the same thing. Since now right there, that's where the head rounds out. That's where I'm mostly using the heel of the blade. Now I got my 1.5 guard. It's gonna be all the way open, and then it's gonna be all the way close. So I'm gonna use the 1.5 guard and the 0 guard or the half guard. That's when I use it halfway or open or all the way closed. It just really depends on the customer. Some customers, some clients, they have that easy hair to fade, and some they just don't. And there's a lot of barbers out there that they really do know how to fade, but they said sometimes they have too many clients. They just rather speed their haircut and get all the money, which is, I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm not saying it's good. Everybody has a preference. Now we're gonna use the 0 guard, and that you do is lever close, halfway, then open, close, halfway, and then open. So on some clients, they have patches, and that's normal. A lot of people have patches on their head. As a barber, it is your job and your responsibility to do as much as possible to blend in to whatever you have, to make it seem like you have all of your hair is completely full. That's just my opinion. Not all clients can have a sick fade, because some patches are way too big to hide there. They're just not, you just can't. You just really can't. But then, as you notice, usually when I do my detail work, I usually always like to switch clippers and do with the Babyliss Pro clipper with a taper blade. The reason is because with the taper blade, you can take out less hair and still be efficient. So basically, I like to use these pretending like they're the Masters. I used to love the Masters, and I used to use the Masters on every client. But when you're doing a bunch of heads, your wrist starts to hurt, and it starts to mess up on your craft, because then you just want to speed up all the cuts, and just you start losing your potential towards your haircuts. And that's the whole point. The haircut's really an art. So moreover, on these clippers, I really like them because they're light. They're super light. Rudy A blends. This is my face. This is my haircut. This is my haircut tutorial. Make sure you stay tuned and you stay subscribed. As soon as I hit 50 subscribers on YouTube, I'll be doing a $100 giveaway.